Hello and good evening, everyone. I want to say hi and welcome to my 8th day of water fasting. I want to take a moment to appreciate you for following me on this journey and understand that it means a lot. The feedback and comments I've gotten, I probably have 5 or 6 people who are actually actively fasting now, even changing up or slightly increasing their intermittent fasting. And I always tell people this is not a race. This is not it's a marathon. It is a race, but it's a slow, methodical, slow pace, more like a marathon kind of concept. So I'm officially 8 days in. I've officially completed a week. And the one thing that happens on and around this time, which you may notice, and it would be a fair time if you want to look at my posts of a week ago and look at my live, look at me now. So see, John, I'll improve my light for you. And one thing that is very clear is you'll notice that the youthful appearance is more and more over time. And that is why I have the title today, Guess My Biological Age. And I'll do this based upon the last time I had it measured, and it stayed fairly consistent, but I would like to hear what you think it is, just for curiosity. And if you don't know, my actual age from a birth date standpoint is 46. So I am 46 years old, happy to be so. So one thing I always do before I go into age and autophagy and all that is I like to go through the updates on weight. A lot of people ask me, how much weight are you losing? And today is a very, very, very good indication of how people should perceive fasting. So from the get-go, I have lost 13.9 pounds. But from yesterday, I did not lose a pound. Nothing. No gain, no loss. And a lot of people, this is a major question they have. They're like, how much weight did you lose? How much body fat? A lot of people fast to lose weight. And now I'm a week in and there's not weight loss happening. And that doesn't mean it won't continue or process whatever, but I bring it up because I had tremendous amount of weight loss in the early 4 days or so, like 2 and 3 and 4 pounds a day some days. But the fact that it's dropping to very small amounts right now reminds me of what I had last time, which is it typically averaged around a pound to half a pound a day, which makes sense. If a human's supposed to eat, let's say 2,000, I'm a little bigger of a person, maybe 2,400 calories, something like that. It's 3,500 calories per pound of fat. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong on that. If you're watching this, tell me in the chat if I'm totally wrong. Again, I have no problem being wrong. And if I am wrong, that's great. I honestly have no problem being completely incorrect, but I believe it's that. So if you take 35 divided by 2, it's roughly 1,800, which means that it's like 1 3/4 days and you lose a pound of fat. A lot of questions people ask is, do you lose a lot of muscle mass? No, you don't. And the reason you don't is your body is very intelligent. It is burning fat for fuel at this time. And your body does this all the time anyway. But your body's actually taking muscle. It's recycling. Hey, Fleur. Thank you, Fleur. Fleur helped correct me. I appreciate that. So yes, 3,500 calories per pound of fat. So whatever 2,000 calories is divided by 32, it's just under 2 days that you're going to lose that pound. So if you say 1 3/4 days, just ballparking, that's how long it takes to lose a pound of fat. Now, I'm across the 1 week threshold, and my arms, just to give you an example, and it's not great, so I still have muscle, so there's still muscle there, right? But the skin, because fat is being lost, is a little more loose because I've lost this weight. And again, it's 13, almost 14 pounds, but of that, I would probably guess 7 or 8 pounds actually fat loss. The rest is is water weight, or even less, because again, it's half a pound a day. But if you're on the chat, Fleur, I would welcome the biological age guess. And if you know it from me talking about before, that's completely fine. But what happened is in 2021, I did this massive amount of days. And I went to see my doctor 5 or 6 times during that year because I just felt the need to, but also I was kind of, they have the ability to detect your biological age. I was totally interested in this because when I had first done my biological age, it was, oh, it's a long time ago, 27, and that was late 2020, I believe was, yeah, and I was upper 20s at that point. So 46 biologically, upper 20s. So you guys are probably gonna, if you guess, that's cool. But, and if you're in the comments, obviously you can guess too. So what happened, and this was a really cool experience for me to go through. So I was doing a huge amount of fasting. I did nearly 100 days throughout 2021. But what happened, and I bring this up because I think this may be a potential that people may have, all of us. The biological age kept on going down. So as time went on, I actually went younger and younger and younger. So 27, 25, 21, upper teens, 12, 7, and then 3. So that was the rough progression. I have it mapped out somewhere, but then it went from 3 to like 9 to 11 to 14 to 17, and now it hovers between maybe 16, 17, and let's say 23, 24, depending when I go, how recently I fast. It tends to be on the lower side of things if I fasted more recently. But what I think is very interesting, and tell me if you think this is interesting as well, is this. Well, first of all, the reason I fasted was I really, really, really felt compelled, okay? And it was like spiritually pulled to do this. And I always trust that inner guidance I have. A lot of people's intuition is different. Mine feels like I have a feeling I got to know something, and I've always known it, and then it felt very spiritually compelled. And then as I was pulled to do this, in moving to do that, I also, I thought that was very interesting that I was spiritually compelled to do this. And the age dropping, what the doctors were thinking is there was a possibility that it basically hit that 0 mark momentarily and bounced back. And the way they were thinking is they're like, maybe John, throughout this process, and I was the first one to ever have this happen, they thought maybe there's almost like a death and rebirth process in this, almost like a resetting. So I'd be curious your thoughts, because no one really knows. This is totally a mystery. But we had done it, and the lowest age we hit was 3. We never hit below 3, obviously, thank God. You know, John is -1. But so that was a really interesting thing. And then now it hovers again 15, 16, 17 to mid-20s. And what I always tell people is, yes, you look younger. So I may not look my age, and that's okay. But the most important thing is your body heals. So all the injuries you have, all the aches and pains, they begin to go away. But because it's a slow and gentle process, your body got those aches and pains. It got that inflammation. It got the injuries. It got the stuff that's going wrong with it over time. You didn't do this overnight, and you need to understand this is a slow, patient process to unwind these things. So this morning, for example, I don't know what my body was healing, but I had a fever. And I usually have a fever when the body's healing something or it's detoxing. Like I had the, at what stage, oh, Fleur has a great question. Fleur, thank you for your question. So my encouragement in fasting in general is to do a tremendous amount of intermittent fasting. So Fleur, the question is, when do headaches go away? The hunger headaches. And what hunger headaches are, Fleur, is your body's detoxing. And when it detoxes, it typically causes headaches. It's just a common thing. You often stink, by the way. Your breath may smell. Your underarm pits smell, your skin in general, because your body is expelling all this. Understand that the process of eliminating these things is a very slow process. If you want to expedite it, you can do what I recommend, which is the activated charcoal, which you can buy at a couple of the health food stores. The one that I would recommend is the one in, it has LZ Plaza and Grand Bazaar. They have a lot of vitamins in there and some foods that are organic and such, but they have activated charcoal. They actually should sell it nowadays at most. They would probably sell it at pharmacy too. But activated charcoal and psyllium husk will allow your body to absorb the toxins, which are causing the headaches, by the way, and then eliminate them in a bowel movement. But if the headaches are bad, slow down a little bit on the pace of the fasting. So a woman I spoke to, she kind of messaged me kind of personally, and I appreciate it. She was asking, like, what's a good methodology she could get into, because it's hard for her to do like long fasts at this point. So what I told her is something, there's a Dr. Pompa, P-O-M-P-A, and his system is this. He does 5 days intermittent, so whatever your intermittent fasting, could be a 6-hour window of eating, 8-hour window, 4-hour window of eating. You need to be able to keep up that same hour window. So you're doing, so if you feel like I'm freaking dying, I need to eat everything, you need to lengthen the window of time until your body kind of adjusts. But the blessing with doing intermittent fasting is you train your body to do micro levels of detoxing. Also, as you eat, slowly try to move out of fried foods, slowly try to move out of breads, sugars, things like that. Try to introduce a little more vegetables, maybe things that, it could be like onions and garlic, ground provisions, things like that. These things, the body gets a lot of nutritional benefit, a lot of fiber, which is actually what the gut microbiome in your body eat and therefore feed you. They give you a lot of healthy benefits. And there's a famous quote, actually a doctor I talked to, because I had not eaten meat. I had literally eaten just straight fruit for months, and I was working out, still getting muscle and gaining muscle and getting stronger. And I was asking the doctor, I was like, why am I gaining muscle even though people say you can't gain it unless you're eating protein? And he said, it's very simple, John. Because I ate probably at that point 80% fruit and 20% like vegetables, and not necessarily all raw, by the way, maybe some sauteed, whatever. But he said what happens is these gut microbiome, these gut bugs as they call them, they eat what you give them, which is for these various fibers. So obviously there's sugars, but they live on the fiber. And what happens is they actually can produce amino acids, which the body obviously, which are the building blocks of protein. So your body actually can gain protein from these gut bugs. So I mention this because the psyllium husk is that, and when you shift to eating more of a diet which has a lot of fiber, you're going to find that you'll be able to, over time, need less and less miscellaneous things. Can this help stress eaters? So stress eaters, the cool thing about stress eaters, I'll give you my personal opinion on this. Some people will disagree with me, and I'm perfectly fine with that. On my spiritual journey, and I'm going to go a little deep here, there's 2 layers to this. One layer is that the person is eating to comfort a discomfort, obviously, right? They're like, something is stressful, I buffer that, and food and cheeses and dairy especially has a very nurturing kind of energy to it. So it's almost literally the mother's milk. So a lot of people eat these foods to comfort and calm their nervous system. But what's happening is there is something on the undercurrent that needs healing. And this is where the real blessing of going longer into fasting happens. Is, and I'm going to go spiritual here for a minute with you. Just because I've had to deal with these and it's been very helpful for me, is the underlying thing that is making you eat and eat out of stress. I truly believe now, I didn't before because I really didn't understand these things. But as I've kind of grown and expanded spiritually, I've had greater discernment of the spiritual world, actually interacting with it, positive and bad. Like Carnival, the demons at Carnival are insane. But I bring it up because I'd learned about the concept of rebuking and deliverance. And and actually the reason I'm doing 40 days is actually to deliver me from a demon that showed itself the last fast I did, 2021, and I didn't make it to 40 days. Famous for me, is it woke me up on like the 32nd day, and it it really wanted me to eat, and it had me look at foods online, how to get them at like midnight, and I was asleep at like 8, 9 o'clock. So I say this because a lot of these stress eaters are people who actually are living with demons that are telling them to eat. And but understand, and this is an important factor. So obviously they can be delivered, and you can learn deliverance, and it's not the most complex thing. I always Pastor Vlad, VLAD. He's an amazing deliverance minister. You can look him up. He talks about how to do self-deliverance. It would help you out with this. But with regards to any sort of thing that there's a demonic or entity attachment, what they're really attached to, and this is important, Fleur, they are attached to a wound, a trauma that allows them to kind of have entryway into us. So you have to understand that and there's a famous biblical quote where they say, the demon's cast out, and demon brings a bunch of other demons in, and the house is clean and swept away. And the challenge is people don't understand that, and I respect that, because not everyone has the broadest spiritual perspective, so you can't expect everyone to understand everything, of course. And not that I know everything, I'm not saying this, but I do understand demons, and I understand what causes them to attach to a person. I understand how they work in teams, but that's not the point. The point is, when the person rebukes and casts out the demon or the entity, call it whatever you want, but it's a demonic entity. It's a non-physical entity that attaches to people to basically suck their energy, and the feeling that you get and the from food is what it's going after. But I'm saying this because it can only attach to you when you have that trauma. So you have to deal with the trauma. And the blessing, it doesn't feel like in the moment, by the way, but the blessing with longer fasting is that the stuff that you have happening, that stuff gets brought to the surface. So whatever it is that we're not facing, I've had the same experience. The things that I have yet to heal are brought to the surface when you fast. And ever since probably day 3, this has been happening. So my wife, bless her soul, is very good at continually to ask me stuff and saying, John, what about this? John, what about this? And then people call it the nagging wife. But the problem is, for me, and I told her this, like when I'm fasting, I don't have a lot of resistance. So I didn't this time yet. But there's been many a time that I literally break down and crying just because like I can't argue. Like your ability to say no, please stop, it's gone. So understand that you don't have the defenses emotionally that you normally have during a fast. But the cool thing about that is it allows you to transform through your fast. So with that, are there any other questions? I have a couple people on now. If you have questions for me, great. If you don't, I'm going to jump off so that way you guys can enjoy the rest of your eating. You're eating in the evening. A little Freudian slip there. My body's like, give me food. But what's interesting, by the way, now that I'm a week in, I will be honest, after about day 3, I really don't think about food. But if someone has food, if I smell food cooking, my senses are heightened. So if I smell or have someone's cooking something, like my brain will find it. So understand that this is part of the deal. Your body is hungry, so it's not playing around. So no more questions. That's all good. Thank you, Fleur, if you're still there. I appreciate you. And all you watching in the replays, again, thank you for your support. We are officially crossed over into the second week of this. How many weeks will this be? 5.5 weeks, roughly 6 weeks. I might as well do 42 days. So with that, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I couldn't do this without the support, and I really am happy this time. This was a request by my friend Kivan Sinan, and if you guys know Kivan, he's been asking me to kind of catalog how I was doing and maybe what I was going through and all that. So I always tell people I am more experienced, and it's not necessarily to impress everyone, but I suffer less. I do work. Tomorrow morning I have a 3-hour training starting at 7:30. But I say this because I've gone through the hell, the headaches, the being totally exhausted. But it's almost 7 o'clock now, but I'm probably going to go to bed around 8, and I am tired. So I do need more sleep. So I am able to work. I am able to function. As you can tell, my mind is totally on. But I do need more sleep. So with that, I appreciate you. God bless you. Have a good night. I'll see you mañana. Bye-bye.